Hi guys, welcome back to Still Color. This is Kevin, and today I'm going to be talking about the songs or the music that I've discovered, or sometimes the music that Spotify has suggested me. And the reason why being is because we always sort of comment about the latest music, what's new, what we think about it. But there's been so much music from the past that we haven't heard or that I haven't heard, and I get to hear it as if I hear it for the first time. And it's always very interesting when that happens. And I think I listen to more old music than I listen to new music. Like in a year, what ends up being the most played records for me are records that I never heard, and that ends up sort of taking all over. And these, especially this album coming up, is partly parts of that. And that is Van Morrison's Moondance. And it's really interesting because with Van Morrison, I've heard Astro Weeks, of course, which arguably is in my top 20 favorite album. And for those people that have heard Astro Weeks, they most likely are very much older because the album came out in 1959. Was that? How did I stumble upon listening to Astro Weeks, which led on to me listening to Moondance? I think I've always been interested with folk. I think it started off, I always liked rock, but then I kind of transitioned into folk at some point on. And I think it would happen because of Bon Iver and what he was working with Kanye West. And then I started listening to a little bit of Bon Iver, and I loved that, the Bon Iver album. I listened to his Forever Emma album as well, and some of the other stuff that was coming during that period of time. But because it's also, this is sort of the branch of rock, I think 2015, obviously years after 2015, 2016, I was like, let me sort of listen to Van Morrison's Moondance. And of course, Van Morrison is like one of those artists that in the plethora of like great rock artists is held as being one of the greatest singers, one of the greatest musicians of all time as well. And I believe he's got probably 4 or 5 albums in the Rolling Stone 500 greatest list. So that also gave me the sort of impetus to go and listen to this album, because at times I'm also very interested. It's like, why the fuck do people say that this album is great? Do you get me? Why isn't Ja Rule's debut album as great as this album? Did you get me? That's some of the philosophical questions that I have in my head about music. Astro Week was part of it as well, and it took me a while, but when that album clicked, my God, it is incredibly beautiful, transcendent, and it's like a sort of it's a spiritual album because it came out during the sort of the hippie movement that was quite big in the 60s as well. So it does sort of talk about this music is from that era, and does talk about those hippie ideals as well. And yeah, that spurred me on to listen to Moondance. The Moondance is very different. It's much more slicker with the record like Moondance. It got this sort of like jazz, old school jazz club vibe to it. And I think loads of people, I mean, you cannot fail not to have heard that record because of how much it just gets played, whether it might be in a film or in a just randomly. It's one of those old school classic songs that never, you probably, when you hear it, you will know. And that's part of the record as well. But it still does keep up, have some of the sort of like folky or folky, and talk about the things that he talks about on Astro Weeks, whether that be just about nature, the sort of the beauty, just the beauty of the nature, about life and also death as well. And he does it with such a earnest way that is so incredibly sort of like touching. And it helps again that Van Morrison is a phenomenal singer as well. And yeah, I'm so happy that I've discovered this album, and it's easily a classic. It's easily a 10 out of 10, minimum 9 out of 10. And it has been on absolute, I've been playing this album more than I've been playing the 2 albums this year that I think are in my top list. So it says a lot. So if I actually did a list, it should be up in there. But yeah, guys, check out Van Morrison's Moondance. Check out Van Morrison's Moondance. And it's very completely different from what's going on in the scene, from what we've come, from what we as as listeners have come to used to in terms of the scene. Either it talks about love, talks about materialism, talks about people doing bad things, you know. It's very much, yeah, it's definitely a different sort of taste as well. And I do not think you will be disappointed. But yeah, that has been Morrison's Moondance. Album is Jill Scott's, let me get the full name properly, Beautifully Human. Where can I see? Oh yeah, Beautifully Human Words and Sounds, Volume 1. Now, Jill Scott is an interesting artist for me. I love neo soul, and I've heard Jill Scott's probably 2 and 3 albums. This is one of the albums that I didn't hear, and I do not know why. I do not know why. I heard her first album. I love the singles. I love some of the records. I didn't think it was an amazing album, but I think it had some good songs on it and some that stick through time for me. And bear in mind, when I heard the album, I didn't hear it in 2004 because I was very much a young kid. I heard it 2011. So I do this weird thing where I kind of go back and listen to stuff, and it's not. Yeah, it's because again I'm looking for new music. Well, what's new in my head, not necessarily currently, but throughout time. So yeah, I missed this album, and I do not know why I missed this album. But obviously she had the verses, which was quite interesting as well. And she was up against Erykah Badu, who for me I put up there not just one of the best neo soul, but one of the best artists in general as well. For her Mama's Gun album as well, and Baduizm, which is one of her known, and also her 2010 album that I've completely forgot. That album I consumed when it came out, I absolutely liked it as well. But yeah, so she was not someone that I was like, I knew she was an amazing singer, but it's not someone that I kind of like was like, But this Beautiful Human album, I think probably for me is her best album. Again, I don't think it's full out amazing, because there are certainly some records that I just think like, what's the point? And she keeps on just talking about love constantly throughout the album, but not in a way that connects the entire sort of story or explores all facets of love. It's very much in a repetitive manner in a way. Sonically, there's not much of a change, though there is a cohesion, but there is not interesting varieties that sort of keep the album's momentum. But with Beautifully Human, the records that for me stand out, for example, is Family Business. So she sort of, talks about being at a party and talks about, the people that are at the party, about their life as well, and also what's happening at the party. And it's incredibly beautiful song, man. Like it's long, but it's just it's as if you're there with her and you're experiencing what she's experiencing. And it's a great record, man. It's a great record that I've just continuously been playing endlessly on repeat, and it just keeps on staying with me. So that's also another song that I would have added on my top list. If it is in my top list overall, but if we're talking about this year, obviously it'll be a different list. That's that record, and also another record on the album, Spring Summer Feeling as well. And there's also another record that I will come to on this list that is just literally about nature, and it's just beautiful to hear sort of songs like that. Do you get me? That takes into account what's happening in the outside world. And Spring Summer Feeling is a beautiful album. But yeah, Jill Scott's one, Beautifully Human, Words and Sounds, Volume 1. Check it out, guys. Especially if you want something soulful. Kind of bit like the Moonlight album. It's folk, but it's incredibly soulful as well, and it fills up your soul, and that's the type of music I'll be consuming quite a lot. So do check out those 2 albums. Let me know what you think about it after doing it, and also if you've heard it, tell me what you think about the album. Always interested to know about you lot's opinion. Now we're going on to songs, and now I'll be talking about another record called Springtime Again by Sun Ra. And boy, it is just unbelievably beautiful. I mean, it's one of those records, yeah. Like I've played it probably like hundreds of times, and my girlfriend probably would attest to that. It's one of those records when you listen to it and you're just like, this is flawless, and I am absolutely touched that it's even possible that records can reach this level. And Sun Ra is this jazz musician, is long dead now. that operated. I think it operated for good, what's it called, period of time with the whole jazz quartet. With, is that even the right word for it? You know, other musicians as well. And on the album as well, that got Door of the Cosmos, and also another record. It's actually a great album as well. But that record is just transcendent. It is beautiful, man. It is absolutely beautiful. Pretty much like the Moonlight album as well. But with that springtime again, and again, I love record that is just literally about fucking spring. Like, and it's just so glorious, especially when you hear the saxophone as well and the heights that the saxophone reaches. It's as if watching someone in the element, and you just can be like, it's untouchable. But yeah, phenomenal record, man. Phenomenal record. Another record we got Pavarotti Turandot, and I'm a massive football fan. And Andrea Bocelli performed, I believe, Turandot as well, which for me, I thought it was absolutely beautiful. And also, the whole ceremony was just beautiful as well. And the fact that the way Italy played, which is a whole other discussion, maybe one day we need to make a YouTube channel talking about football, because if you lot knew me, I am obsessed about football. But yeah, I mean, the performance was just beautiful, man. And opera is an interesting genre, do you get me? But again, it's part of the classical musical strand. And for me, my mom always used to play classical music, and she still doesn't play as much, for whatever reason it may be. But yeah, Turandot is beautiful as well, man. Absolutely beautiful. And I think when you when it come on, everyone knows it. It's one of those ones that have been played, like you played randomly and you kind of like, oh shit, I know what this is. But yeah, I had to add it. Amazing. But brilliant performance by Bocelli as well. So yeah. The Gang Heaven at Once as well. Yeah, Kool and Gang are a soul funk band as well. I think this record came out in the 1970s, possibly. I'm not exactly sure. And it's literally about talking about, you know, bringing heaven to earth, and you know, the fallacy of men and thinking that they sort of know the best, and in their arrogance forgetting about the world, essentially. Do you get me? And destroying the world. And yeah, brilliant song, man. Brilliant song. Beautiful, funky. And I believe Todd Edwards sampled it for one of his house records. So interesting. Another record is Miss Lauryn Hill, I Gotta Find Peace of Mind, from her MTV Unplugged session. I've heard the album. Didn't like it quite a lot at that time as well. It does have some of its bits and pieces. But I Gotta Find a Peace of Mind. It's just beautiful. And essentially it's about her trying to find a peace of mind, but in a relationship as well, but about being with someone that's possibly is more arrogant and doesn't necessarily take into account her own sort of perspective as well. But it's quite weird because I don't know, sometimes she goes from talking from the perspective of the relationship, but then another part she also talks about God. But I'm not exactly sure if she's doing it at the same time, because when she talks about God in the other part, it's very clear, and it's clear to understand that. But then there's not much change to sort of signal that. It was almost, I kind of got that from repeated listens anyway. But yeah, it's another record that's been playing continuously, and yeah, absolute record. I love it. Swift Willow, I think it's one of the big singles from her album last year as well. And although I had Folklore as one of my favorite albums last year, I didn't actually hear the other album as well. I do this thing where I'm like, okay, cool, I've consumed too much of you. Let me leave you and I'll come back to you at one point. So Willow was one of those records, and you know, as time sort of went on, I think, or not time, it's been a couple of months really. And I'm now playing it and I'm loving it. I think it's a beautiful song, man. Beautiful love record, man. Absolutely beautiful. I've been having that on repeat all the time. And then we got Woo Punk with Georgia Monroe, which is this sort of like hip hop, funky, instrumental. And Georgia Monroe, she has done other records as well. I cannot even bring up other example, but do check out some of the stuff. And I believe it's an ODE to Wu-Tang Clan. So you check that out. We got Georgia Margaret Apathy, another sort of down tempo is always the wrong word, because it always refers to electronic music that's more down tempo, but more beautiful instrumental music that is just present and peaceful. And Apathy is perfectly that, even though I believe the word apathy is to be indifferent emotionally. So yeah, beautiful song. We got Pekaya Pohola Sikulu's Sister. That record was sampled So DJ Shadow, who did Introducing, which is in my top 10 favorite album, did Midnight in a Perfect World, which is that record that I just mentioned earlier, sampled. And I believe that sample was never on Spotify because I never found it. And then I think I found it on my new release stuff, and I was screaming because it's absolutely perfect prog rock. Like it is some Pink Floyd shit. And if you lot have seen some of our Jarvis's what's it called, first listen of Pink Floyd, you lot check it out. And this record is the same sort of vibe. It's just guitar hero music-esque. And I believe this band is from Bulgaria? Where were they from? I saw their Wikipedia like years ago, but I was just amazed by the record. Yeah, and that's that record. And then I'm God with Clam's Casino, and I believe this is one of the records that ASAP Rocky hopped on. So that was ASAP Rocky when he first came onto the scene with that mixtape that I completely forgot the name of. And Clam's Casino was like one of the hottest producers at one point as well. And I believe that this was one of the, was it no, it's not Pesos. Either way, I believe it's one of those records that ASAP Rocky hopped on. But yeah, the instrumental for it is amazing. I've been playing it all the time. Sheltered Rhubarb, I don't know, it's this ghostly like cover of Aphex Twin record. I can't remember what the name of it is, and I've been playing that record loads as well. But it's just beautiful. It's just ghostly. It just sounds haunting, but also weirdly peaceful. That's another record. We got Windy Car Forest Trail, and it's literally I don't know, 5 or 10 minute song, sounding as if it is a forest trail as well. Incredibly peaceful as well, and it's just beautiful. It's just moving. There are no words, so it's just, again, beautiful music. And then we go into Mafikozola and Nkizi, and I can never say this because it's a South African house record as well. But it's the name of the group is called Mafikozola, and the name of the song in Nisixoselani. Yeah, South African house music is just, yeah, they got some serious groove. And over the years, I've always had this itch. I'm like, shit, let me see some old school South African music. And I think it also stems a lot from what my mom was playing for me when I was very much younger as well. So yeah, brilliant record. And I've been tired of being alone. Al Green, one of my favorite artists in general, is a live version from 1973 when that Tired of Being Alone record came out. And it just sounds so much of its time. And it sounds so old school. It sounds like matured wine. Do you get me? You know that wine that was stored in a compartment for like however so many years, and you just get this sort of crackling on the record, and it just sounds so, like, that's the thing, is it sounds even more soulful with it as well. And then you got someone like Al Green as well, like it's just even more funky and even more groovy, and it's just absolutely brilliant and beautiful singer. And there's also another record on there, which is How Can You Mend My Broken Heart, which is also part of the same album and part of an album that came out during 1973, and that's the live version of it. And it just sounds incredibly sadder as well, like with the whole sort of, you know how old records sound with the whole crackling as well, fam. And you know, Al Green is an incredible singer. So yeah, check that out, guys, especially if you're looking into sort of old soul music. Check it out. And got Rocks and Waves Song Circle, and this is song 1 and part 5. And this is interesting song because it was made by, I believe, a Swedish composer, and I believe he went out somewhere in Argentina, wherever he made out. But he got this group of these random people and formed this choir, and he created this beautiful choral music that was supposed to sort of, I think the aim of it was supposed to sort of be healing, and then talk about yeah, I don't think it's talk about healing. I think about trauma healing specifically, from what I remember. But there's no any words in it. There's no sort of song structure. There's very much choir music. But my God, it is beautiful. It is transcendent, and it is incredibly touching. And some of these records, I think, can go on for more than 5 minutes. I think the fifth act, which is my favorite act, goes on for 10 minutes or 15 minutes. But there's just certain transcendental moment, which it's just a word I've used quite a lot, because some of these records that I've heard, and that's the beauty about discovering a new record. But yeah, it's just so transcendent. It's just like, it is humbling. Humbling is the right word to hear that type of music, and that's the best thing that I would say. Stay Fly, 3-6 Mafia. Absolute fucking banger, man. Like that black exploitation fucking sample in the background as well. Bruv, like, was it Juicy J? Who else produced for them as well? Oh, Jarvis told me as well, and I completely forgot as well. Production is absolutely flawless. It is beautiful. The record came out 07, and probably 07, they were not on my radar. I mean, very hard to when Kanye came out with Graduation, and then yeah, I think there was loads of other artists that would do. I think 50 Cent as well. Don't ask me why, but yeah, yeah, Stay Fly, absolutely brilliant, man. And even the instrumental is even much better. And I think what spurred me on was they did Who Run It earlier on, and I think G Herbo did a freestyle, which I thought was crazy. Then I found out, then I went digged it deeper, and then I found out it was a 3-6 Mafia shit. Then I heard that record, I was like, oh shit. And then recently, Isaiah Rajat, I think sampled another 3-6 Mafia record. I like certain elements. Oh shit. That's also another record that I think I haven't spoken of. I like certain elements of that record, but I didn't think it was all amazing. I think it was a bit of hit and miss in that one. And then I heard the sample, the real sample, and I was like, oh, okay, that's not bad. And then I end up looking into more 3-6 Mafia stuff. And then I was like, my God, Stay Fly is incredible. So that's how I got to Stay Fly. And then last song on the Sonic update, or sorry, with this music that I've discovered and what's on heavy rotation, is Darryl Hill and Joan O's You Make My Dreams Come True. Brilliant song. My girlfriend was playing it when we were cooking food in the kitchen. And I was like, fam, I feel like I'm in an 80s teen film, but it just still sounds hella clean. And Darren Ho and John Oates have done a record like Sarah Smart. Like the records always sound so clean and so well put together. It's just like, it's just so crazy. It's like, and it's just so catchy. It's just catchy, like it's repetitive. It's like, it sticks straight into it and it sounds fucking good. It's like eating a good meal at a restaurant, and it doesn't get tiring as well. So yeah, check out that record as well, guys. So guys, that was what I've discovered, and also what some of Spotify suggested to me that I absolutely love and have come to adore, that I've recently just heard. And guys, if you've heard some of it, tell me what you know. If you haven't heard some of it, check it out. Maybe this is part of some music that you're kind of sort of looking for, that you like, oh shit, I never checked it out. And please do suggest me some records that are quite similar to it as well, because I realized I got a pattern of looking in certain trajectory and to finding certain pieces of certain music, and I kind of do sometimes stick to it. I do branch out, but I sometimes do stick to it, whether it would be sort of a hip hop record, a soul record, an electronic dance record, or a down tempo beautiful music record. So that's the kind of plethora of rock as well. So I kind of do dibble and dabble in what I really I kind of do dibble dabble in all of those genres, but that's sort of the set pattern of things that I'm sort of always looking for, and or what sort of gravitate towards me. So yeah, I mean, if you have any suggestions on what about, or some of the records of what I've been listening to, and also what you like listen to, leave it out in the comment section, and I'm happy to sort of comment and have a discussion about it. But yeah, but guys, thank you a lot for watching, and continue to like and sort of subscribe, and do check out some of the other videos that we have here on our channel. We've got loads of music content and also new interesting content that's sort of gonna come up. We'll be talking about what we believe, what you know, the word legend, what makes one a legend, and things of that nature. Some stuff. It's very interesting stuff, and yeah, thank you guys for watching.